You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.
This is Rod Mahood, your in-game voice of the Niagara IceDogs, and you're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast on the Armchair GM Sports Network, your podcast source for all game analysis, team interviews, and up-to-date news regarding the Niagara IceDogs.
Perlini! Overtime! IceDogs win! They score! Verhaeghe was also jamming away. It's a power play goal for the IceDogs. And they score! Hosang, first goal as an IceDog. Strome stops Shipley. Richie scores! Gets it to a Gil Thomas. Thomas has the angle coming in. He scores!
Welcome into another episode of the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs. Proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all four of their great Niagara region locations. Brandon Caputo and Cam Halbert are with you to go over the IceDogs 24-25 season in review, talk about the playoffs. We got some exit interviews as well with a couple of the IceDog players heading into their offseason. We've got our fan polls as well to get your guys' reaction on some of the individual awards for this season. As well, we're going to talk about the IceDogs' first playoff series since the 2018-19 season, and heading into the OHL Draft on Friday, which they will not be picking in the top four for the first time in 4 years. So it'll be interesting to see kind of where the IceDogs will kind of be in the draft and if there's any significant move there. And, short look at the offseason, as again, we're only a couple days after the season ended. So we're going to get you all that today and reactions to what was a very eventful season for the Niagara IceDogs, full of storylines, good and bad sometimes, on and off the ice. And we'll get into all that today. So make sure to give us a follow on X at Dog Pound Podcast. They update with all of our IceDogs coverage, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok by searching the Armchair GM Sports Network. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in live today on our Armchair GM Sports Network YouTube channel. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and smash that bell. And thank you to those that are listening on your favorite on-demand audio platform. This episode is posted later. Apologies for the later start today. Some technical difficulties this afternoon for Cam and myself. So with that said, Cam, we got a lot to go over today, but I just want to get your general thoughts on, the season. We're going to get into everything there regarding the season, best moments of the year, things like that. But, for you personally, your first time getting to see the IceDogs in the playoffs, what were your initial thoughts on how the series went as a whole?
Well, we talked about this near the end of the regular season that, obviously given how the season went with the crazy start and all of that maybe expectations had changed. But if we were to go back to our first episode, getting a playoff series and, for the first time in 6 years and then getting a home playoff win, there's no way to say that this wasn't a successful season for the IceDogs in terms of expectations. They did what, they needed to do getting into the playoffs and again, giving that one win, a lot of sweeps in the OHL. It's not really like what you see in most NHL playoffs or anything like that. It is you usually do tend to see quite a few sweeps in the first round. So the fact that the IceDogs gave us some entertaining games too. The losses weren't lopsided, which I think a lot of people expected given how the end of the season played out. But no, I think that it was a success. And again, if we were to go back and listen, I think that we would all agree that that this was definitely a win.
Yeah, I mean, again, we'll get into the Barrie series first and kind of our thoughts on that. Obviously, they were number 7 seed going in against the number 2 seed in the Barrie Colts that have obviously loaded up, went all in at the trade deadline. And you look at the first 4 games of that series, Cam, we talked about it on our Game 4 game recap. Like, even though Barrie ended up winning the series 3-1, you look at it like Niagara had a chance to win the first game, lost 4-2. The second game, which we're going to get into with all the, stuff that happened in that game, for the IceDogs to have a third period comeback, tie the game, and then, lose it late there, plus an empty netter was a real heartbreaker. Game 3, they were able to pull out the victory. And then Game 4 was another one that the IceDogs had multiple leads in and let it slip away. So again, a young, inexperienced playoff team that's going to learn from taking a team like Barrie to 5 games. And again, could have gone either way, but these are the experiences you need going into the playoffs. Barrie's obviously been there a few years in a row here, and now with those additions they made at the deadline with that whole North Bay line of Romani, Van Steensel, and Wakely, that was just an X factor for the Colts. Just a lot of playoff experience on the other end, and for this IceDogs team, they had some on the back end, but up front, a very new environment for these guys. Anthony Romani had the game-winning goal in 3 of the 4 wins for the Barrie Colts. So goals for was 27 for Barrie, 19 for the IceDogs. So they gave up 27 goals in the 5 games, which, again, you can argue that if that was something that needed to be corrected. The IceDogs had the second-ranked power play in the first round as well at 42.9%. So there were definitely some positives to take from a series that only went 5 games. And as Ben Boudreau said, it definitely didn't feel like a series that was a quick 5-game series, because the IceDogs, it wasn't like they were getting blown out in all of these games.
No, for sure. Like I said, I think that there was a lot of opportunity for learning. We talked about it just within the game. Some of those penalties that Aerosmith and Zada took in Game 4 or Game 3 and 4 right after goals to give them a power play to let them back in. And those are experiences that are necessary for a team to really grow. I would be stunned if we see anything like that ever again from this IceDog core, at least going forward. And that's important. And not to mention, they just could not play a full 60 minutes. However, their ability to come back was extremely impressive. And obviously, Game 2 is the one that stands out, because if Flores starts that game and gets the full 60 minutes at no fault of his own, I think that maybe changes the whole complexion of the series, because at that point then it's 2-1 IceDogs, right? It's going maybe the distance, and I think that there will be a lot of regrets, but I also think that they shouldn't really be their learning experiences, right? We got to see Owen Flores get his win at home, which is massive, but as he bows out of the OHL and continues on his career. But no, I think that's what's super important about this playoff series, is that it was a lot of self-inflicted things. You mentioned the multiple leads in Game 4. They'll learn to hold on to those leads and how to play, I think, in the next year or two.
Yeah, and I look at it's difficult, right? Because Game 4, it was a great atmosphere, over 4,000 in the building.
Mm-hmm.
IceDogs got off to a hot start. Loshko gets that power play goal, and the place is rocking. And it's just nice to see for the fans in the Meridian Center that they finally got a taste of playoff hockey again. You could tell they've been dying for it. And again, they just got a small taste of 2 games. But you're hoping that that's just an appetizer for what's to come the next couple of seasons, barring them making the right moves, because they've obviously got some holes to fill on the back end and things like that, and to round out the goaltending, and probably a couple of veteran forwards as well. And we don't know what the overage situation is going to be. They've got some decisions to make there. So again, we're not saying that this team can just come back exactly as it is next year and compete. That's not really going to be possible. So they're going to have to make some strategic moves. We'll see what they do in the draft as well. And they're going to have to really go after it, because now with the new NCAA ruling, players can leave earlier for colleges in the United States in Division I. So you might not get a guy, like, for example, I'm just going to use it as Owen Flores. Possibly he doesn't stay all 5 years if that rule comes to place last year. So with that taking effect in September of 2025, you really need to make sure that you're doing a good job of not only recruiting players in, but then also doing a good job of keeping them for those 3, 4, 5 years with your organization, instead of them kind of going the collegiate route.
No, for sure. And I think that on top of that, from an organizational standpoint, I think of it as like what we said at the deadline, where no moves was the right move. I think that for the organization, they need no bad nonsense for a season, right? Like, I think that would just go a long way. Unfortunately, they have a hard time of just getting out of their own way from an organizational standpoint. And it was better for stretches this year, but still, as we got to the end of the year, there's a lot of negativity based on, just things that they could have been avoided, right? And I think that that's going to go a long way just for the outlook of the franchise. Again, you mentioned that players can go the collegiate route and things like that. Yeah, you got to make sure that this stuff doesn't happen because then players will look to leave. And I don't think that obviously you don't want that being the case. So I still think next year. You mentioned it. There is a lot of interesting decisions. I think that the thoughts would be that the team is just going to get better regardless. I mean, Zada and Roobroeck will get even better. Another year, Zada's going to get drafted. Roobroeck in his draft season, where he is a high end first round projected pick. I would expect massive seasons from them. Big jump from like what we saw from Waslin, from Zada from Waslin. He really tailed off at the end of the season, and it's a long season. It's a very, very long season. So we see a big X factor jump from him. But then, yeah, we lost, in my opinion, the MVP of the team in Owen Flores. So now you got to figure out what to do in net because it can't just be Humphreys. And we have to see if he's going to be capable of handling even a backup role, right? Which I think he is, right? It was a tough go, but that was more of the whole team as well. So what are they going to do there? What do they do with their overage spots? The two of them, in Asadorian and Wysick, are extremely injury prone. But it's also these guys have been together for so long. Is it did we learn from the Gavin Bryant trade, right? Because looking back on it, maybe Bryant for instead of keeping Washko, I still think at the time there's no way to not make that move. But maybe you go in with a character type building thing and maybe putting more of an emphasis on that. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, Gavin Bryant was obviously a great captain for the IceDogs there, and again, that's the double-edged sword, right?
Tough.
Do you take like Lashko and Kevin He were so good together the first half of the year?
Yeah, exactly.
And
Hindsight, sure, but at the time, there's no way. Lashko was top 5 in scoring. Van Vliet ended up being the most. Could you imagine if the team didn't have Van Vliet? Especially because Wysick got hurt. And then Flores, the team literally fell off the tracks when he got hurt, right? So, again, extremely tough situation. And obviously, in hindsight, you can always go back and look. But I just, it was what it was. And I think that, but that's now you got to learn from that, too, from a management standpoint now. Yep. It's within the cards.
The only move they really made was giving up the 2/3 for Blake Aerosmith, who, again, had his ups and downs as a young player, but hopefully he's going to learn from that going into his 18-year-old season. He's also draft eligible, so we'll see if a team takes a chance on Blake Aerosmith in one of the later rounds. That might give him a boost of confidence as well. And then obviously they traded away a couple guys. Mason Ray went out to Owen Sound and things like that, but no really significant moves. And especially in the goaltending department when Flores went down and Charlie Robertson out for the season, you saw the call-up of Hayden Jeffrey from the St. Catharines Falcons, who obviously had one of the biggest wins in IceDogs' recent memory against the London Knights, which we'll talk about. But then you had to rely on Finn Moffitt, and then, as you mentioned, 16-year-old Matt Humphreys, who's going to be the goalie of the future, but just a little bit quicker than they had anticipated. So a couple of those key injuries, like you mentioned, to the goaltending, as well as Asadorian and Paris being out for significant time as those quality veteran players, Wysick being out. Roobroeck was out for about a week or two, so they went through their injuries, and we finally got to see somewhat of a full lineup come playoff time minus Andrew Wysick, and it was just nice to finally see the whole team together, see what they could do, and learn from a solid first round playoff series that really could have went either way. But I think again there's going to have to be some moves in the offseason to really stabilize and make this thing better all around.
100%. I completely agree.
All right, so talking about that quickly, the playoff stats, Cam. This was pretty incredible. Matthew Virgilio in the five games had 8 points, a goal and 7 assists. He really played his best hockey as we expected him 100%. To do in the playoffs, given his playoff experience with Sioux and losing to Saginaw in the second round last year. Matthew Virgilio again really stepped it up in the playoff series, and I think he, other than maybe the top end guys, he was definitely one of the biggest pleasant surprises there. And who knows, he might have the best point per game average in the playoffs when it's all said and done, because again he's not playing any more games.
Yeah,
and everybody else might end up going down, but a great showing from Virgilio nonetheless.
100%. And again, I think that he had a really rough end of the season. during that losing streak. There was a lot of, defensive misplays and things like that. But no, he was absolutely rock solid in that playoff run or that playoff series. A +4 when you lose 4 games out of 5 is pretty incredible. No, and he really made it easier for the Ice Dogs next year because he had 27 points, I believe. It was a career high in points. So I would expect a pretty big jump next year for him, and maybe in that aspect, along with maybe Jack Brody, who Brody had a massive jump in career points as well, going from 21 in his rookie season to 46 last season. So those are pretty important defensemen, and those were both acquired this year, right? Obviously, we're losing Van Vliet, and who knows the status of Andrew Wysick, but at least those two, you've really got, and Chinowski really improving as well. That was massive for the team.
As far as the rest of the playoff stats go, Alex Asadorian led the way in goals with 6 points in the 5 games. He had a pretty warrior performance in Game 3 where he, took a puck to the face, had to go get stitches, came back, scored 2 goals, and you saw when number 8 was healthy how valuable he was to this team in all areas.
I mean, we saw it during the regular season, too. Like, this team is absolutely at its best when Asadorian's in the lineup. And, like I said, it is going to be a very, very difficult decision for them when it comes to their overagers next season because Wysick, the last 2 years since he's come to Niagara, has essentially played 1 season. He's missed half a year both seasons. And I don't know, given the draft pick situation, I don't know if the team's deep enough to miss him for a significant amount of time. Yeah, I don't want to say waste an overage spot on that's not what I'm trying to say, but he's also just one of the more impactful OHLers, right? So we'll have to wait and see on him, but it's going to be a very tough decision, and I hope he's back because he when everything is his ability to skate and chase down pucks and create offense is absolutely huge.
Yeah, and as a couple of guys are talking about in the chat, Paris and Asadorian just make the team so much better. We completely agree. We've been saying that all year when those guys were out of the lineup. It wasn't that the young guys weren't doing their best to step up, but it just lays out the lineup so much better when 54 and 8 are in there as veteran presences. Asadorian, everything that he does with the puck, away from the puck. Paris just plays a simple game, but is very valuable. The guy to go in and get the puck. He doesn't play fancy, but he gets the job done. He can score, he can pass. So, like, those guys were just so valuable when they were in the lineup. And with them having extended absences this year, I think that also equated to the Ice Dogs having such struggles in the second half.
100%. I completely agree. I think that, like I mentioned, the team is just so much better when he is in the lineup. Very underrated. And same thing with Paris too. Like when they're there, they're just great OHLers, and they're going to be very important. And like I said, the management's they've really got to take a look at like character stuff, and if are they a great fit? Are they the best fit? That kind of thing, and go from there. Because when they're in the lineup, they are extremely hardworking and great OHL players.
We don't have a rookie poll, so I just quickly want to touch on it because obviously Brady Wasslin, no disrespect to everybody else, and he should be. He's a fourth overall pick, should be the best rookie. Broke the Ice Dogs rookie assist record. But again, as you mentioned, a little bit quieter of a second half for a guy that was leading all the OHL in rookie points for the first half. A guy that we were very high on going into the season was Max Crete. Got off to a hot start. I believe he had 8 points in his first 10 games, was playing on the top line, and then really hit the rookie wall in the second half and, was playing in a bottom 6 role for most of it. And again, being a smaller player, he's got a heart of a lion, but sometimes he gets, shoved around a little bit just because of his size. But as you mentioned, I expect Max Crete to kind of take that leap that we saw Zada take from his first year to his second year as far as his point totals, as far as his 200-foot game, and just being more confident with the puck. I think that's just something that you work through because some teams don't even have any 16-year-olds in the lineup, and the Ice Dogs have had 4 each of the last 2 seasons. So it's just something that they're working through maybe quicker than they would on other teams where they send their rookies down to Junior B or these other leagues to kind of develop them. The Ice Dogs guys, thrown into the fire, and they'll be better for it going forward.
Yeah, I'm hoping this season we see 1 at 2 at most. But Yeah, when we go into next season, the X factor of the team is going to be Max Creed, just like Zada was. If Zada, we said it, or I mentioned, if Zada gets 50 points, this team is in a great spot, and he did that. Not only that, he jumped from being a projected 7th round pick to projected 2nd round pick, which is I did not see coming. He became one of the most fun players to watch, and Creed is in the exact same boat. Like I think that he struggled with the physicality of the league as the season got along. It's so hard. It's a 68 game regular season, right? Like that is an exceptionally long season to have. And, it's a very physical league. And I think that he struggled a little bit with that at the end of the year. But if he can, improve, which I 100% think he can, and he's got the tools to be just an agitator in the league and one of the more fun players to watch. I think that if he can get to the 40-point range, that would be massive for the Ice Dogs, because again, that means they don't have to find that from outside the organization, right? Like I think that that's huge. And like you mentioned, they need to get to a spot where they're just letting these kids develop, you know? I don't know how like the Owen Flores injury and then the Charlie Robinson injury, obviously very, very unfortunate. But I don't think that Matt Humphrey's development was helped by him playing OHL games this year. If anything, I think that it was hurt, but it was out of necessity because they didn't really have anyone else, right? So that's something that I hope the organization doesn't have to run into going forward.
Yeah, you want to have organizational depth for injuries that are going to happen on every team for every season, and that's just something the Ice Dogs have taken a few years to build back up. When you were a team that only won 12 games 2 years ago, it's been quite the rise for them, and we'll talk about kind of the better moments in that. We'll get into the Twitter polls. Max Crete, lastly, 1 point in the playoffs, but as far as the player stats in the regular season, I guess I forgot. I had player stats up for the season, but I put them both as playoffs, so I actually don't have them up. But one thing we should mention, it sounds like Andrew Wysick probably would have missed at least a couple more weeks, even if the Ice Dogs were to make it. Lower body injury. Really unfortunate for a guy that was drafted, in 2021. He's the longest tenured Ice Dog, the last kind of player from the old regime before the new regime took over. And again, that he wanted to play so badly in his first playoffs in his 4th year, gone through so much the last 2 years to try to fight through some injuries. Sounds like he would have been at least 2 or 3 weeks away, which is, pretty unfortunate with him. And then Ivan Galyanov, who, again, was playing his best hockey, I think, Cam, that we had mentioned in the last month of the season, especially on our game recaps, scored 2 goals after coming back, getting rocked by Kayshawn Aitchison in Game 2. And had just been playing so well, and unfortunately wasn't good enough to go in games 4 and 5. And you could see him after the game was still on the ice with the team, in his street clothes, crying, and it meant so much to him because he's such a heart and soul type of player.
No, 100%. And I think that injuries in hockey happen, but it's super unfortunate, and the whole team as a whole, like the season was a roller coaster because of the start. The start changed so much in terms of what they expected, how they played. Again, I think that they knew they were in the playoffs in February, and it just kind of, but the injuries and the timing, yeah, it's tough. Like Wysick specifically, much like we wanted to see Flores get some success, same thing for Wysick's been here through all of the brutal seasons. And I'm very curious to see what happens in his overage season, because he's definitely one of the more important players when he's on the ice. He's extremely good mobile defenseman for the Ice Dogs.
Yeah, no, he is for sure. Trying to pull up the points here, but I still can't. But again, before we hit the break, Cam, let's talk about our moments of the year. I haven't told you these before, and so you're going to react to them. We'll get our exit interviews in the second half, as well as go over our fan polls for you guys as far as some of the individual performances this year. So Cam's hearing these for the first time. I mean, he remembers them, but as far as how you would rank them. So I've got 5 of them written down here. And again, you guys listening along or watching can, make up your minds for yourselves here. But I'll list them all off, Cam, and then you can kind of rank them how you feel. Win over London on March 1st, 6-4. Hayden Jeffrey in the net. Again, the most scheduled loss in history. The Ice Dogs come out with a win against the number 1 team in the CHL. Number 2, win over Brampton in the home opener, October 6th, 7-3 win. Brampton coming in as the number 1 ranked team in the CHL power rankings. The Ice Dogs still trying to show that they were for real. They started off 4-0, and it was a big win in their home opener. the Northern road trip sweep, the 3 games that they had between December 12th and December 15th up in Sioux, Sudbury, and North Bay, which they had never done in their franchise's history. Game 3, April 1st, 6-4 win in the playoffs over Barrie. Again, first playoff win for the team since the 2018-19 season. And this one, it probably would have been, the number 1 if they would have been able to pull it off. But the improbable Game 2, all the things that happened with having to sit players for a certain period, Flores coming in the second period, that off-ice disciplinary issue from the league that came down right before the game, and having to, do some line gymnastics for Ben Boudreau to be able to make this thing work. They were down 5-1 going into the third period, scored 4 goals in the first 10 minutes, tied the game, and then obviously Barrie got the late game winner. But that whole game as a whole, I've never been a part of anything like that. Covering, watching, it was just an unbelievable, circumstance that the IceDogs almost pulled out an improbable win. So those were the top 5 moments for me. Cam, how would you kind of rank those in your opinion?
Going from worst to first, I will say the favorite moments. We're talking about just as a fan, the most fun.
Well, just what you think was best for biggest moments for the franchise this season.
Okay, well, number 5 then. As much as it would have been sweet, Game 2 irks me so bad. So I'll put Game 2 5 because it's more frustrating than anything, because they could have been completely avoided and they probably should have won that game. I'll put that one 5. The Northern road trip, 4th, super crazy, fantastic moment of the season, because that was really when they started to get their stride. And then into the Christmas break, they were first in the conference, and that was when our expectations really changed. And again, maybe it was a bad thing, but that was awesome to see. Brampton, the Ivan Kovic and Flores fight is one of the more fun games that I've ever been at. Definitely a fantastic game, and kind of what kicked off the first half of the season, where it made the IceDogs for real, because Brampton at the time, number 1 team in the CHL power rankings coming into the year, and the IceDogs pumped them. So did Flores. Number 2, this is tough, because I think that had it not been for such a long period of stretch in between games, London, that was a phenomenal thing to be a part of and be at, because I remember getting to the third period, I was like, good Lord, I couldn't believe it. But I was almost like, okay, but they'll lose this one. The fact that they beat London, who I believe only lost 12 times all year, to their 4th goaltender in a stretch of 12 straight losses, that is absurd. The most improbable. The line odds on that had to be minus 1,000 going into that game, just unbettable. And then number 1 is definitely that win, that Game 3 win. That was something big for the franchise, and it also gave hope for the series. Obviously it didn't matter, but Game 3, they had multiple leads. And I also think that it was massive for Flores. I think it was massive for Roobroeck and Kevin and all those guys going into, because they got a taste of what it's like. If they got swept, they wouldn't even know what it feels like to win in the playoffs. Nevertheless, do it at home was just massive. So definitely the highlight of the season for me was Game 3.
All right, so Cam's got Game 3 as number 1, them winning their first playoff game on home ice since April of 2019, sorry. Number 2 is the win over the London Knights, number 1 ranked team in the country, with Hayden Jeffrey called up, and Kevin He scoring a hat trick in that game. It was an electric night. Mm-hmm. Number 3, the home opener against the Brampton Steelheads. As you mentioned, the Flores fight was part of that as well, and just showing the number 1 ranked team coming into the season that they were for real. That they weren't just going to be pushed over this season. Number 4, the Northern Road sweep in Sioux, Sudbury, and North Bay. And then number 5, the Game 2, just unbelievable situation that the IceDogs kind of had to overcome, and making a late push there in the third period. Were there anything that I missed, Cam, that you wanted to quickly mention as an honorable mention there?
No, there was a lot of moments, but no, I think you nailed the 5. Again, maybe not number 5 for me, just because of the circumstance of that game. But no, I think that you hit all the games, all the correct ones. The teddy bear toss night was pretty good. Brody score. I remember calling that as being Brody's
Jack Brody scoring.
Jack Brody scoring. That was kind of fun, but no, just overall such a good season. Again, I think we were to go back and look. It didn't end the way that we wanted because our expectations and the goalpost changed. But no, this was everything that we expected. We said that this is what needs to happen, happened, right? So we can't be upset with how the season went if we were to go back and look in retrospect. So some great moments, and they were from the very start of the year all the way to the end. So, that's a good thing.
Yep, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to go to our fan polls as well as our exit interviews with Ryan Roobroeck, Kevin He, and Owen Flores. So stay right here. But right back on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family. Back after this.
Did you know that the Global Pet Food stores in the Niagara region are all independently owned by members of the local community? We believe that pets are truly part of the family and are a source of joy in everyday homes around the world. Yet that living, loving experience usually doesn't happen all on its own, but takes extra effort to create and maintain. And we want you to know that the owners and staff at Global Pet Foods are always there to help you keep it going, any way we can, because we believe. Proud show sponsor of the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs. We hope to see you at one of the following locations across Niagara: 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, as well as 400 Scott Street and 344 Glendale Avenue in St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family. Fuel up your day with Gale's Gas Bars. They're your go-to gas stations in the Niagara region. Remember, at Gale's, they're not just a gas station. They're a local tradition. Whether you're hitting the road or staying cozy at home, choose Gale's. Gale's Gas Bars provide reliable fuel that keeps you moving. Stop in for quality you can trust and service with a smile. Don't settle for less. Head to Gale's Gas Bars today, because when it comes to fuel, you're going to Gale's! Learn more at gales.ca.
Wild Bill's Auto Repair is your local center for auto maintenance and repair in the Niagara region. Since 2012, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop has been helping customers stay safe and confident on the road, knowing their vehicles in top running condition through their services. Located at 7868 Oakwood Drive in Niagara Falls, the garage started as a tribute to the owner's father, William Robert Hunter, who passed away, continuing the same community spirit and high level of service which customers came to expect from him back at Hunter's Auto Repair. Their multi-award-winning auto shop has earned the trust of the Niagara community with its fair treatment of all customers, who can feel confident they'll get the trustworthy advice and repairs during their visit. Their experienced crew loves meeting new people and looks forward to forming a lasting partnership for the care of your cars. To find out more or to book service, contact them today, 905-358-7868 or wildbillsauto.ca. Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road since 2012.
Are you currently looking for work in the Niagara region? If so, you owe it to yourself to check out the services provided by the Niagara Employment Help Center, located at 6100 Thorold Stone Road in Niagara Falls. Their many free services include a fully staffed resource area open to the public, resume and cover letter writing, local labor market information, job search strategies, assistance with clarifying employment, training and career goals, employment counseling and job search support, and Better Jobs Ontario information and registration assistance. Check out their website at ehc.on.ca or call 905-358-0021 for more information. The Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work since 1983.
This Employment Ontario program is funded by the Government of Ontario.
Celebrating a birthday, wedding, graduation, or just watching the big game, Carmine's Pizzeria Italiano is there to satisfy your pizza needs. Serving handmade Italian pizzas created with the freshest top quality ingredients, loaded subs, and their famous chicken wings. Platinum Award recipients of Community Votes Niagara for Best Pizza and Wings in all of the Niagara region 3 years running. Open 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week from their brand new location at 7156 Drummond Road in Niagara Falls. All payment options accepted to fit your convenience. Available for call-ahead pickup or delivery. Place your order today at 905-374-4400 or check out their online menu for the best quality pizza and wing combos you'll find in Niagara at carmine'spizzeria.ca. You've tried the rest, why not try the best? Carmine's Pizzeria Italiano, proudly serving the Niagara community since 2013.
This is Alex Asadorian.
Hey, it's Ryan Roobroeck.
This is Ivan Gallianoff.
This is Matthew Virgilio.
My name's Jack Browdy.
And this is the
Dog Pound Podcast,
the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
Welcome back to part 2 of today's Niagara IceDogs season in review episode right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs. Proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all 4 of their great Niagara region locations. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in on our Armchair GM Sports Network YouTube channel. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and smash that bell. We're close to 1,000 subscribers. We'd love to get there by the end of this week with the OHL Draft as well. And thank you to those that are listening on your favorite on-demand audio platform a little later in the day. Cam, before we get any further, quick shout out to all of our fans that have, been loyal to us all season long. It's been quite the ride, and again, for IceDog fans, the last 5 years hasn't been the easiest thing to do, but we really appreciate their support, through the game recap, staying up late for those, listening to all of our monthly recap episodes, all the stuff we post on social media. We really do have some very loyal fans, and we really appreciate all of them.
100%. It's awesome, to see the interaction in the community and, everyone that takes the time to listen to us. There's not a lot of coverage of the OHL, unfortunately. And, it's we wouldn't be able to do a show regularly if it wasn't for everyone listening. So, again, thanks for all the interactions and everything like that. And hope to see you more at IceDog games, hopefully next season, because they're going to be good.
Absolutely. So, quickly, Cam, we'll touch on, the first half and the second half. We've kind of talked about it a lot in the first half, but I do have the numbers here. I went up to until December 31st, and then after January 1st, obviously the trade deadline being there in early January, and all those teams around them loaded up at the deadline, and the IceDogs kind of fell down to 7th in the standings. First half of the season, you can say 22, 12, 1-1, so very good first stretch of the season, and then the tale of two halves, obviously, with the 6-20, 3-3, going into the playoffs. And again, Owen Flores is out for a month there as well, but he was still healthy for a portion of that, and there were other players injured as well. But again, when you have so many teams loading up around you, and the expectations kind of change, and everybody just doesn't play their backup goalies against you, and they come in with their best effort after the first half of the season you had, where you were ranked in the top 10 at certain points in the CHL. The IceDogs got a lot of teams' best efforts, and you saw it there in the second half that teams started to really take it to them, and hopefully they kind of learn from going through that turbulence in the second half.
Again, I think that you can, there's a lot of learning lessons from this season, and I think that, again, we just want to see playoffs this year. They gave us that. The route to get there was not ideal, obviously, if we were to rewrite it, but I think that going into next year, which is in a very important 2-year window for the IceDogs, if they are ever going to contend for an OHL championship or even just a deep run in the playoffs, it's these 2 years coming up. So that being said, a lot of this core, they had a great start to the season. They have learned that they can win consistently. They've also learned that, hey, if we don't pay attention for the whole season, we can lose consistently. So, I think that they take that and they learn from it. And also, I think big for the coaching staff as well. I think that the coaching staff this year did a great job. And I think that, head coach Ben Boudreau is also going to understand that, hey, we had all these points. We banked it. We're probably in the playoffs, but maybe he changes things up when he sees a little bit of a slide going into next year at any point. So, I think that it can all be a big learning lesson, and you've got to learn how to lose before you can learn how to win.
Absolutely. And again, I'm already in off-season mode. Forgot to turn my lights on. Forgot to put the slideshow on, getting everything going here as we get forward here. But yeah, you mentioned, the coaching staff with Mark Slauson and Dan Paille coming in as first-year assistants as well. For head coach Ben Boudreau, I think, they did an admirable job of, him implementing his system for the first full season here. And the management doing what they did, standing pat with the roster. I think that was a big confidence booster for the team. Obviously with, them the last 2 years, a lot of learning experiences for this management staff, with not making as many trades as they did the last 2 years, which was almost like record breaking. But knowing that they build through the draft, and we've got the draft coming up this Friday, so they're going to be adding another really solid player in the top 10, and we'll see, if that player develops here or if there's, going to be a trade at some point, because the IceDogs don't have necessarily the best draft pick cupboard to be able to go and acquire top-end players. So unfortunately, if they want to do that, they're going to have to part with some young assets or expensive assets that could turn into draft picks. But again, that's just the luxury that they don't have because of kind of where they were the last 2 years of having to use all the draft capital to get back up to a respectable spot.
I almost wonder if, the real issue is Kevin and the fact that Ryan's a late birthday. So he doesn't have, after his draft, he's only got 2 more seasons instead of 3, right? Before his overager. Kevin has made a case, at least his skating, where he will get a shot in the NHL. So, potentially, right? Like I think he'll get more preseason games, things like that. And that would be awful to lose him, right? That would be massive. So I'm almost wondering if you do a little bit of a franchise reset this upcoming year where like, do you not make any trades again so that the following 2 years are just an all in, you know, chips into the middle kind of situation for a season? Because Kevin at most has what, 2 seasons left?
Yep.
So it's this season and next season.
And I would not be shocked if he goes to Manitoba. We've seen some players really go to the AHL as of late. Zane Parekh
For
on the
sure.
Calgary, some players. So I would expect maybe, again, this isn't confirmed or anything, but if Kevin He were to get called up by Manitoba and finish out the year there, maybe they get a good look at him, and then going into training camp next season with the Jets, you never know what could happen.
Yeah. Can he go to Manitoba now?
Right now, because the season's over.
What about next season? Can he do it next season as well, or can he go to the AHL next season?
No, he has to play in either the NHL or the OHL.
That's what I thought. Yeah. That's still in the same situation. So yeah, that's going to be awfully difficult to see. The Jets are very patient with their prospects, though.
Yeah, Colby Barlow's still waiting.
Exactly. Very, very, very slow with their prospects. So I would anticipate we get 2 more years of Kevin, and then again, of an overage season of him with Roobroeck and Wasselin and Zada. Like, that's an insane top 4. The problem is we really need a defenseman. And if they take a defenseman in the draft, a 16-year-old defenseman, that's a very difficult position to just automatically be great at, even if you are a high pick. So I don't know, because my fear is that they trade their first round pick, whoever they take, maybe even their second round pick, because they just don't have a lot of other picks to trade for in the future. So it's going to be awfully difficult, but whoever they trade for, it can't be an overpay. It's got to be a slam dunk. It's, in my opinion, I think it's got to be a defenseman and a goaltender at least, right? Like, I don't know who, they've always made trades with London, and it's usually, actually, to be honest, it's actually gone half decently, in my opinion. I think at face value, it always looks like they overpay. But, they've got 2 great goaltenders. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. And London might do a little bit of a selling after, losing a lot of players, but who knows? I still think Carter George, bring him to Niagara. That's my guess.
It's going to be a big asking price, and I'm sure there'll be many teams that will be interested in the services of Carter George. Again, that trade Blake Aerosmith for 2/3. We'll see how that works out the next couple of seasons.
Tough one.
Hard to say. Like right now, he's only played like a half season with Niagara. So again, Niagara doesn't have a second round pick. They've got a 3rd and 2/4 this year to go along with their first round pick, and their second is not even their 3rd isn't even theirs. It's North Bay. So. We'll have to see kind of where they go with the draft, and again, we'll have some live draft coverage for you guys this coming Friday for night 1. We'll keep you guys posted on that on social media. But going forward, Cam, quick point of order here before we get into the fan polls. Andre Lashko signs his entry-level contract with the Seattle Kraken. 2023 4th-round selection by the Kraken. Came over from the IceDogs, obviously, as a godsend from waivers in the QMJHL this year, taking up 2 spots as an import and as an overager, but he was worth every penny. 70 points in 67 games, had 16 power play goals this year, which was top 4 in all the Ontario Hockey League. Bounced around from the top line to the third line at times, just based off of the lineup and things like that. But really happy to see Lashko sign his entry-level contract. I think he's going to do well in Coachella next year, which continues to just be like an OHL all-star team down there with Coachella, with all their OHL drafted players that are trying to work their way up to Seattle. They've got Derek Laxdal as their head coach down there, who was the head coach of Oshawa last year, taking them to the OHL championship. So he's familiar with OHL players. I think Andre Lashko is going to have a solid AHL season going into 25-26.
100%. That, and it was out of nowhere too. Like that was such a surprising ad that really changed the whole season. Because remember, whether the trade of Gavin Bryant was forced because of it, there was a month where Gavin couldn't play and Lashko was just unbelievable. And he came at the very end of training camp. I don't know if people thought that he would sign, and it was just ended up being pretty fantastic in that sense. On the ice, he was just absolutely insane, and wish him all the best in Seattle. It's sad we only got 1 season of him because he became such a big focal point of the team, but he was absolutely one of the biggest reasons as to why this team made the playoffs.
So we'll get into our fan polls, and we're kind of going to tie that into one of them as well, talking about Lashko. Again, thank you to everybody that contributed here. Give us a follow at Dog Pound Podcast to get in on the next ones that we do. If you're not already following us, I don't know why you're watching the show, because that's where you find most of our stuff on X there. But poll number 1, and this was a tough one, Cam, because all 4 of these guys had massive impacts, but I think the right person got the win here. IceDogs' most valuable player, Captain Kevin He, second-year star Ryan Roobroeck, goaltender Owen Flores, or veteran forward Alex Asadorian. Owen Flores takes this poll 61.4%, and not to slight any of the other 3 guys because they were massive pieces of this team, Owen Flores from the back end was Niagara's rock all year long.
100%. Like, you mean, it wasn't, I mean, his injury just showed it, right? Like, when he got injured, there was no hope. You really saw how important he was. And, the team gave up so many goals, right? And that wasn't, I don't think, a reflection of his play. I think the team in front just defensively just had a rough go, especially in that second half. But my goodness, without him, we probably don't see the playoffs, and we probably don't get that win either in game 3. So, again, crazy good seasons by Roobroeck and Kevin and Asadorian. When he came back was super. You just really saw his value, but it's definitely Flores.
Poll number 2, best IceDogs newcomer, player that played their first season with the IceDogs in 24-25, forward Andre Lashko, the aforementioned Seattle Kraken pick that they got off waivers in the QMJHL. Noah Van Vliet, the defenseman, coming over from Sudbury in an offseason trade. Jack Brody coming over in that big 3-way trade with Barrie and Flint in the offseason, and Matthew Virgilio coming over from the Sioux Greyhounds. All 3 of those guys bring playoff experience to the IceDogs back end and played significant roles for the team this year. But Andre Lashko took this poll with 62.8%.
Yeah, honestly, Brody and Van Vliet, that they were extremely important, given that there was really the entire D corps needed to be overhauled last year. And, but Lashko was majority of the season, the first line center, and became such an important role. The power play, we talked about it, it needed to be at like 15%, ended up being vastly improved simply because of his shot. So no complaints there.
Poll number 3, IceDogs most improved player. And we went back and forth on how we kind of wanted to go about this, whether players from the season improved as the season went on or improved from last season to this season, whichever way you kind of wanted to go about it. Forward Ethan Zada, forward Ivan Galyanov, forward Sean Doherty, who came over from the Sarnia Sting in the offseason as well, and then defenseman Callum Shanowski playing a bigger role for the team this year in a top 4 role, getting bigger minutes than he had coming over from Brantford, and the only Niagara native on the team. Ethan Zada took this poll, Cam, at 53.3%. I think that was based off of him having an over 50-point season, over 20 goals, and tripling his point output in his draft year. Not to slight Galyanov, Doherty, and Shanowski, because I think all 3 of those guys were valuable, pieces for the IceDogs and got better. But Ethan Zada, number 12, I think was well deserving of this.
Oh, 100%. Like I said, I think that this team, he wasn't the MVP, but his growth drastically changes the outlook on the squad going into next year. Obviously losing Lashko is going to be massive, but you sort of have a replacement in-house right there with Zada. Will just slide up one. And, you saw his ability to stand up for his teammates defensively, like just a great player to watch. And obviously, being in the shadow of Roobroeck because of where he was drafted was probably tough in his rookie season, where Ryan was getting all the accolades and things like that. Zada was extremely important in his second season, and developed awesome chemistry with him, which I think was what everyone hoped going into this season. So no complaints there. I honestly thought it'd be a bit higher.
Yeah, I mean, Roobroeck's 84 points, I believe he had on the year, 87 points, 41 goals, can be attributed to his chemistry with Ethan Zada as well. So shout out to him, but also the other 3 guys. Galyanov played well, especially in the second half of the year, and Shanowski, really took a step forward in his ice time. Poll number 4, the IceDogs unsung hero, so a player that maybe flies under the radar, but still a valuable piece to the team. And this one came right down to the wire, Cam. Matthew Paris was actually leading this poll all the way to the end. He got 34.1%. Mike Levin, 17.1%. A guy that came over and played a solid middle 6 role for the team in a scoring capacity from London last season. 2 seasons ago now. And then Blair Scott was another underrated part of that. Jack Brody for Tristan Bertucci and draft pick swap with Artem Frolov and Urban Podrekar, played a shutdown role for the team, penalty kill role, third pair defenseman. Brady Wasslin takes this poll 36.6%, narrowly beating out Matthew Paris at 34.1%.
I think that Paris plays a full season, and this probably isn't very close. Wasslin was he is extremely important for next season because Wasslin is if we can extrapolate out how his growth will be, if he can become a 50-60 point player and really start to get that goal scoring ability that he had coming into the OHL going, that would just be massive for the team. But no complaints there on that one. I think Wasslin was definitely one of the best. And he had stretches where it looked like he was, just a front runner to win the top scoring rookie and whatnot. Just a tough second half.
The youngest Ice Dog to have a 5-point game as well this year, I believe, in that game against Saginaw.
Yep.
But again, he's known as a goal scorer. He only had 8 goals, but he had 38 assists. So you're hoping that, if he adds, doubles his goal total, can really be a dynamic offensive player that he was talking about coming out of the draft, or why the Ice Dogs selected him. Just a, really strong offensive game type of player, Brady Wasslin. But again, Matthew Parrish just so valuable to the team for what he's able to do, on and off the ice. And just, I think Matthew Parrish flies under the radar way too much.
If he was hurt, if he wasn't hurt, yeah, he had really, it's become very evident that he is an extremely good OHL player. If he plays a full season, he's probably got 60 points.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you feel for Max Crete because he had such a strong start to the year.
Yep.
But then only 11 goals, 19 points in the 68 games. But I think he had, half of that in the first 10 games. I think he had 15.
Games. Yeah, I want to say he was he had 15 points in his first 20-ish games. So
yeah. So those were the fan polls for you guys, and again, going to do more of that obviously going in the future. But thanks for everybody for contributing to that and giving some love to the Ice Dog players this year, getting your guys' thoughts on the team this year. So Cam, before we get out of here, we got to get to our exit interviews. We're going to go first to Ice Dogs overage goaltender Owen Flores, his thoughts on closing out the junior hockey portion of his career, and what's going to be next for him as he takes all the experience from Niagara. Back with IceDogs goaltender Owen Flores. Owen, I know it's hard to process right now because the season just ended last night, but your great OHL career is over now, and you're on to the next part of your hockey journey. Initial thoughts. I know the game didn't go as you guys want, but you had a 46-save performance going out with a bang. But how would you assess this first playoff experience with Niagara?
Yeah, it's a good experience for everybody. Obviously, it's a young team in there, so it's a great experience for everybody. Obviously, for me as well, obviously, not seeing playoffs for 3-4 years there, so it's a great first experience, obviously, and I'll make sure to carry that with me wherever I go next.
What's the message to a young group there that's still trying to learn what it's like to win and win consistently and make more playoff series as they go on? What are you hoping that they take from this experience? And for guys like you and Van Vliet and Loshko, that you guys kind of laid the foundation here as you kind of move on here for what playoffs are like and what they can expect for future years.
Yeah, it's a great experience for everybody, especially now. It is what it is. It's tough for everybody, but it's a great learning experience, obviously. We took them to 5 games. Obviously, everyone thought that it was going to be a clean sweep, and that shows kind of there that these guys, they want to win. They have the character that they want to win. They don't like losing, which is obviously, it's a good thing to carry into next year, and kind of just leave it with them that they like the feeling of winning, and obviously it's not easy winning in this league, so it's take it day by day. It's called the grind for a reason. The guys are just playing the O just to have fun and play. It's a very highly competitive league. A lot of NHL Draft picks come out of here, so it's not an easy task. So I just think that for them going into next year is have an open mind and just continue to work every day.
And for you, 130 plus games here in Niagara, 150 in your OHL career. Looking back on it, is there one or two things that stand out for you of your best accomplishments? Obviously some incredible saves and things like that, but maybe an atmosphere that you've played in or anything like that. Is there something that when you look back on your OHL career would be a moment that sticks out to you?
Yeah, I think that the first year obviously it was a tough first year. Obviously, it's 16, 17 years old. living away from home for the first time. I had a big group in there. Obviously, the guys like Evangelista, Strangers, Montgomery, and obviously Brochu. Kind of the same thing. Kind of came in after they got rid of one of the other goalies and kind of took care of me. So. From then on out, kind of did the same thing, kind of followed his footsteps as well. It's how I made it through a lot, obviously going between junior B and the OHL. And obviously there's a point there where he was injured and kind of everything kind of fell on me there. So it kind of a voice there. So I kind of just take that and kind of run with it from there.
I know you're a proud American, but now you've been living in Canada for 4 years. How have you kind of adjusted to living up north and getting used to our colored money and our different food and everything? Like, how have you enjoyed your time here? As you go back home probably at some point.
Yeah, I loved it. Obviously, it was obviously a little bit of a change at first, but I've been to Canada plenty of times in my youth hockey career, at different tournaments and everything. So definitely familiar with it, but it took a little bit to get used to. But obviously after that, it's kind of a breeze.
Yeah, no dollar bills here in Canada. But regardless of that, Owen, I know you've got some options, and you're going to kind of wait a bit to figure out what's next for you. But how much are you looking forward to taking the step into your next part of your career, whether that be NCAA, whether that be in the pros, and continuing to build on as a person and as a goalie.
Yeah, it's exciting, obviously. Obviously, not knowing what's going to happen next is a little bit scary, but at the same time, it's exciting. You don't know what's going to happen. At this point, anything can happen. Obviously, NCAA, you could play anywhere in the States, anywhere across the country there. Obviously, pro as well, too. Obviously, you could play wherever. So obviously, it's a little scary, but it's also exciting at the same time, kind of just to see what the next chapter brings.
And lastly, what would be your message to the fans here? I know you're a fan favorite here in Niagara. A lot of fans, wearing the 35 jerseys out there, and you put on a show for them in the last home game there, and a lot of support through the last 4 years of you, sticking it out here in Niagara through some tough times, and I know the fan base really appreciated that. So, what's your message to Dog Country here, and as you kind of leave Niagara?
Yeah, it's obviously the fans are a huge part of it. Obviously, packing the building every night. Obviously, we've had some rough years in the past, and they've stuck with us ever since. So I just think that there's nothing we can do to give back to them, as many school visits and everything we do in the community. It's never enough to really thank them for everything they've done for us.
IceDogs overage goaltender Owen Flores. Owen, congratulations on a great OHL career, and best of luck to you wherever your pro hockey journey goes, and maybe we'll talk to you in the future.
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate it.
There was IceDogs overage goaltender Owen Flores. Final thoughts in Niagara as he moves on, Cam. Again, he's got some options to go NCAA. He's got some options, to sign pro contracts. So he's kind of waiting things out for the next little bit to see where his next step is. But, he leaves a lasting impression on this team, even though they didn't have the best team success with him. Definitely, one of the goaltenders we'll look back on that had a great career here with the IceDogs.
100%. Again, he was the goaltender of the dog days of the IceDogs, and he had to wear a lot of that. But my goodness, was he fun to watch! I mean, even in that Game 4, he made some of the craziest saves that you're going to see, and really made the team feel confident in net. It's going to be awfully difficult to replace him, and they're going to have a heck of a challenge. It definitely ended up being one of the most underrated goaltenders in the entire OHL. So excited to see what he ends up doing. He is not done playing hockey, and I would assume that he is probably going to be in the pros at some point.
Yeah, and I know he kind of paid it forward there to Matt Humphreys the last little bit, took him under his wing, and hopefully number 82 learned a lot from Flores. He's a guy that's locked in on game days, doesn't say a word to anybody, is in the zone, doing his own thing, and really prepares, takes it seriously with his goaltending career. And again, we wish Flo all the best. We'll be sure to update you guys on where he ends up going for next year. We'll go to our second exit interview, and it's with Captain Kevin He. His thoughts on how the season went, his first season wearing the C, signing his NHL entry-level contract, being the first Chinese-born player to do so, and having a solid third season here in the Ontario Hockey League. See what Kevin He had to say. Back with IceDogs, Captain Kevin He. Kev, I know the season just ended last night, but quick reflections on your third OHL season, 75 points, 36 goals for yourself. First playoff run, 5 points in 5 playoff games. We're in the C this year. How would you assess the third year for your OHL career?
Yeah, honestly, I really like the team and the group of guys that we had this year, and I thought we were really tight. And we've shown it all year long. We finished pretty well in the first half, and we kept battling to the end, and even in the playoffs, we gave a good run.
And, what was it like to see this place, Meridian Center, 2 games? I know it was a small taste, but seeing the fans here for playoffs and seeing what the Niagara community can be like, come these big games in April, and hopefully bigger things to come in the next couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, these fans, they mean everything to us. So, to be able to play at home in front of all these fans, it's been pretty spectacular for sure.
And what was the message going to that series? Because obviously you guys went in as underdogs, and Barrie went all in at the trade deadline, and gave up a lot of good young players, a lot of draft picks to have their 9 NHL players on their team. But you guys didn't back down. You could have won any of the first 4 games of the series. What was really the belief in there from your team that even though you didn't play them necessarily well in the regular season, you really showed them in the playoffs that it wasn't going to be a cakewalk for them? Yeah,
I think it was just the belief we had in each other. Just a guy standing next to you and just be able to play for that person. And we had a lot of belief in the system and the coaches. So I think that's what really got us going, kept the games really close.
And for you personally, I know nobody's 100% healthy at this time of year. Everybody's battling and playing through things. That's what happens come playoff season. But just how much are you looking forward to possibly being able to recuperate, get some rest, and obviously get ready and healthy for next season?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I have to come ready for training camp next year, and it's going to be a huge year for all of us. So I'm excited. Hopefully recovering from a couple of these injuries, and just got to keep getting better.
What was the message from the coaching staff this year? Ben Boudreau, Dan Paille, Mark Slauson, who you've obviously known as well. What was it like having those guys as the mentors, and what's been their lasting message to you as you leave here going into the summer and trying to come back strong in your 4th year?
Yeah, I think they mean everything to us, and we had a huge belief in them, and they've been there for us, through thick and thin, and all year long. So I think the message was, we're not done yet, and we're gonna have to, have a huge summer. I think all of us, and come back even hungrier next year.
And I remember doing one of these exit interviews with you in your rookie year when you're 16 years old, and you were pretty happy about how your first year went. And does it really feel like it's already been 3 years of your OHL career? Possibly 2 more. We'll see what happens if you're able to make the jump to pro hockey in the next couple of years. But already your 3rd year. Does it feel like yesterday when you were with the draft next week, putting on your draft jersey and being selected by the IceDogs in the draft?
Yeah, honestly, it's pretty crazy to think about it. I just remember like it was yesterday when I walked through these halls for my first training camp. But it goes by quick, that's for sure. So,
is there maybe one memory that you'll take with you this year, or a couple memories that maybe from the guys just bonding on the road, or anything that in the room, like before games or anything like that? Is there anything that you're going to take with you as you go home and maybe reflect on the season that you had a good time with the guys in there?
Yeah, I think a lot of our road trips, we got really tight on the bus and in the hotels. So I think those memories are definitely going to stick with me for a long time, and just how close we were able to get throughout the year.
And lastly, maybe for the younger guys, those 16-year-olds, because obviously you were a 16-year-old in this league, what would be your message to them as they leave after getting all this experience and come back strong for their 2nd year? The Waslins, the Creets, Hotlisses, those kinds of guys in their 1st year, and making sure they come back strong and ready to go in their 2nd year, because that was when you made a big jump.
Yeah, 100%. I think they got a taste of what playoff hockey was like, and I didn't get that until my 3rd year. So I think for them it's just keep developing, keep getting bigger, stronger, and just put in the work in the off season.
Lastly, anything you're looking forward to this summer other than hockey that maybe you've got planned or that you're looking forward to doing?
Probably just training with my teammates. I train with quite a few of them, so being able to see them again in summer would be quite nice.
IceDogs captain Kevin Heek, congratulations on a good 3rd year. Look forward to seeing what's going to come for you in your 4th year, and really appreciate you taking the time all season long to give the fans the captain segments, and really enjoyed that, and always enjoyed speaking with you on and off the ice.
Thank you, Caputo.
There was IceDogs captain Kevin Heek. Cam, we talk to Kevin He every month here for our captain segments, and again, was still learning how to grow into a leader after taking over for Gavin Bryant. Was an up and down season for Kevin He statistically, but had a lot of good moments. Obviously, a couple hat tricks there, a couple game winners, signing his NHL contract, getting his first taste of playoff experience. But 3 years of Kevin He already seems like it's flown by.
I know, it's crazy, and he's gotten better each season, and he's definitely grown into being that captain. I'm excited that he mentioned that the thing he's most looking forward to this offseason is just training with his teammates. I think that's going to be huge. Again, I think that they've really got to make sure the culture of the team is is taken care of, and he's going to be a big part of that, especially when it comes to like work ethic.
And then lastly, we're going to hear from IceDogs second-year forward and leading scorer Ryan Roobroeck as he hits the offseason for what's going to be a very important third year for him. With the late birthday, he's going to go into his NHL draft year, right now projected already as a possible top 5 pick in the National Hockey League draft. Let's see what Ryan Roobroeck has to say about his first taste of playoff experience and as he hits the offseason here going into his third OHL season. Here with IceDogs second-year forward Ryan Roobroeck. Ryan, I know it's hard to process right now. Season just ended last night, but how proud were you of the team being able to go up against a powerhouse team like Barrie and realistically could have won any of the first 4 games of the series? How would you assess your first playoff run here?
Yeah, it was fun. Obviously, not every team gets a chance to crack the playoffs each year, but for the first time and with the group of guys that we had, it was truly amazing. And like you said, any of those first 4 games could have went either way, and it's unfortunate that we couldn't get some more luck.
For you personally, you're not bad for your first playoff run, 6 points, 3 goals. What are you going to take from this experience, hopefully going into your third year? Obviously, being a big year with your draft year, a lot of eyes are going to be on you. So how valuable was this experience for you going into your third year?
Yeah, it's obviously going to be huge, like you said there, into the draft year. And I think just taking this experience, showing the next year and trying to help the next year guys and the team just show what playoff hockey is, just go out there, give it your all every single night, and anything can happen.
Speak about the overagers. Obviously, it's never an easy thing to do to have to say goodbye to those guys with Flores, Van Vliet, and Andre Loshko. Spent a little bit of extra time on the ice with those guys last night. What are you going to take from those guys, and how special was it a moment to kind of just embrace with those guys?
Yeah, obviously what they've done for this team and for this organization is truly amazing. I think every guy in that room is very grateful that what they've done and that we've had them on this team this year, and I wish them the best of luck.
Your line mate Ethan Zada, your draft mate, going into a big summer here, going to be drafted in June. What would be your final scouting report if you were talking to a scout about number 12 Ethan Zada?
He's a great player, and he's a great person too. Like off the ice, on the ice, he's overall a great player, and I think whatever team gets him is it's got a good player and a good future ahead of him.
And for you, you're the Red Tilson nominee for the IceDogs. Great season, over 80 points in your second year, 41 goals. A lot of accomplishments for yourself in the second year. Being awarded with an A on your chest to be an alternate captain on this team. What's maybe going to be the biggest takeaway for you in your second year? Maybe a big stride from your first year.
Probably just the compete level. I think after you get your first year, you come back even hungrier for your next year, and then I think the year after is just you want to do more, you want to succeed more, and obviously you want to see your team do better like we did this year, and it's just amazing. I thank the guys for all my success.
And you probably too early to talk about goals and things like that, but going into next year, what's maybe something that you're looking to take another step in your game and really show that a good tape out there for scouts and things like that, at the top of the NHL draft?
It's a little early to start thinking about that, but I think just kind of get a taste of playoffs this year. I kind of want to hopefully take the team a little further next year, maybe win a couple rounds or so.
And lastly, first taste of playoff action here. Got to see the Meridian Center, especially Game 4 there, a very lively crowd, and hopefully just a small taste of what's to come in the next couple of years with a lot of playoff games here in Niagara. What were your thoughts on seeing this place packed for playoffs, and what would be your message to the fans?
Yeah, I want to thank them for everything they've done for us all year, and the atmosphere was great, amazing. It was amazing. Like I couldn't turn to the guy beside me and speak to him without having to scream at him because how loud it was.
For sure. Is there like one lasting memory you'll take from this season? Maybe a moment with one of the guys, or on or off the ice. Is there one thing that sticks out to you?
Not particularly. I think just kind of take it all in and enjoy it all and remember it all.
IceDogs second-year forward Ryan Roobroeck. Ryan, congratulations on an unbelievable second season. Look forward to seeing you back here in September. Have a good summer. I know you like to fish and things like that, so have a good time out on the boat, and we'll see you back here in the fall.
Thanks, Caputo.
There was IceDogs second-year star Ryan Roobroeck. Yeah, we'll see if he catches any bass out there on the boat this summer. But, it's a couple interesting things there, Cam. He mentioned the compete level that he took a stride in this year. We noticed that, whenever he wanted to take over a game, he could on most nights. Talked about Ethan Zada, being a guy that he thinks is going to be a really good player if ever gets him in the draft, and he really helped them develop this season. And just getting that taste of playoff experience, because we know that Roobroeck is a great player. Broke every rookie record Niagara had as a 16-year-old last year, and then this year taking a huge jump, 41 goals and 87 points, was the IceDogs nominee for the MVP award this year in the Ontario Hockey League. You expect he's going to have a massive third year, put up some massive numbers going into his NHL draft year, but it's just nice to see him get that playoff experience and that playoff action, because that's really, what can make him, rise up the top of the draft board next year.
100%. Again, he's got a lot of pressure on him, and we haven't really heard a lot from him. I think that's something that I look forward to, seeing him take a little bit more of that leadership role and really kind of be out in front. He's going to have to get used to the media. He's probably going to have a lot of people interviewing him, things like that. And he's been a treat to watch, and I love that he gives his props to Zada, his line mate, and their career is going to be very tied together just because of their draft and everything like that. So really excited to see next season for Ryan. He has been everything that we needed him to be when we took him second overall.
Absolutely. So it's going to be a massive third year for Ryan Roobroeck. A lot of the eyes that you mentioned on him, a lot of people reaching out, wanting to talk to him. It should be quite the thing next year to see, how much attention number 25 gets, and well-deserved. Looks like right now him and Gavin McKenna are, right there right now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Roobroeck flying a little bit under the radar as opposed to what McKenna, he gets a lot of the accolades and a lot of the attention, but I think people are going to see that Roobroeck's going to be a guy that can be a franchise-altering player, because he already is at the OHL level.
No, 100%.
So, Cam, that's going to wrap it up. Final thoughts here, because you're not going to obviously be joining us for the draft show, and we're going to take a little bit of a break there. We're going to possibly have like an end of year or end of season kind of wrap up as we go into the offseason. Maybe we bring on a special guest for that, maybe sometime in May. But the IceDogs obviously have some work to do in the offseason. We'll see what kind of trades they make. We'll see what happens in the draft. But again, for a team that, had only won 27 games combined the last two seasons, to be able to get to where they were and get through all of the on and off ice distractions, get a round in the playoffs. What are your kind of lasting words for the 24-25 Niagara IceDogs season?
Again, up and down season, but it restored the fun going to watch the games live. There was it was the first time as a fan in the last 5 years that I'd go to the arena and expect a win. Obviously the second half didn't work out like that, but we got to see a playoff game and how big that is, and I just can't wait to see all the players that we followed over the last two seasons, specifically like Kevin and Ryan and Zada, and now Wasslin and Crete, and watch them elevate their game, and it's really fun. I think that seeing them get drafted and where they get drafted to, and then following their careers afterwards, is one of the more fun parts of being a fan of a junior team. And the IceDogs, they met expectations. I don't think they exceeded them. I think they met them, what we wanted them to do, and I think that next season is going to be more difficult, because second round is going to be the expectation, I think, going into it early on. So
yeah, Ryan Roobroeck talked about wanting to win a couple rounds, and this team really wants to take a big step forward this season and possibly 2027, because you never know if that Memorial Cup bid with Kitchener is going to be something that's in their cards or not. But it would be big for the region, big for the fan base. Again, thank you to everybody that's tuned in all year long for all of our game recaps, all of our episodes. We're going to have a draft show on Friday as well. But as far as the full-time coverage goes of this team, we hope you guys really enjoyed everything we were able to bring you on the show. And again, once again, Cam, thank you to you as well. Again, I wouldn't be able to do this by myself, talking for hours upon end throughout the season, and I know you've your busy schedule with all of the things you're doing as well with your content. So I'm sure the fans really appreciated your honesty and your great analysis, and being able to banter back and forth with you for your second year was truly amazing. And I thank you, my friend.
No problem, man. You're one of the best in the business, and I've learned a lot just from your ability to host, and I hope that the fans appreciate it as much as I do, because the whole reason I'm on the show is because I was looking for IceDog coverage when I became a fan and found the Dog Pound podcast. So I hope there's fans out there that liked our stuff, and clearly there was, and excited for the next season.
Absolutely. So that's going to wrap up our Niagara IceDogs season in review right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs. Proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all four of their great Niagara region locations. Thank you very much to Neil, to Blake, and to John for for bringing the Global Pet Food Stores on board this year. Once again, they were a great show sponsor for this show. Make sure to go and check them out again, even in the off season. Got some great stores there, great stuff, and really appreciate their support with this show this year. So again, thank you to everybody that's tuned in on the YouTube channel, and those listening in audio, and those that have followed us all season long with the Niagara IceDogs. Going to be back next season better than ever. So that's going to be it for Cam Halbert. My name is Barrie Caputo. That's it for the Niagara IceDogs season, falling in the first round to the Barrie Colts. We'll talk to you again on Friday for our OHL Draft coverage, but until then, we'll talk to you again very soon.
You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.